Well, it looks like old grease monkey Newsom ain't getting anywhere near the White House. We knew Minnesota was just the tip of the iceberg when it came to welfare fraud. Now it looks like they may have hit the mother lode in California. We're talking tens of billions of alleged fraudulent spending, fake businesses operating out of strip malls, vacant lots, and wrecking yards, billing Medicare for services that don't exist, and they've been getting away with it for years, all under the governorship of the grease monkey himself. Trump administration officials are blowing the roof off of what may indeed turn out to be the scandal of the century, and it may end up taking down the whole of the Democrat Party with it. Hey gang, it's me, Dr. Steve, your Patriot Professor, here to help you make sense of the madness with breaking news and analysis you're not going to get anywhere else. So make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. Back in 2020, the LA Times, to its credit, first exposed the widespread fraud throughout the Golden State in a bombshell investigative piece uncovering explosive growth in hospice providers that transformed end-of-life care into a multi-billion-dollar business. A state audit released in March of 2022, directly spurred by the Times investigation, corroborated those findings and revealed that hospice agencies in LA County alone overbilled Medicare by $105 million back in 2019. Well, now, in light of what was discovered in Minneapolis, the Trump administration is blowing the roof off this corruption in L.A. and throughout California. Dr. Oz is back as administrator for the Centers of Medicare and Medicaid Services. He's blowing the whistle on what might be the single largest Medicare fraud operation in American history. And what he found is going to make you furious. Last week, Dr. Oz went personally to L.A. and dropped a bombshell. Los Angeles County has become the epicenter of healthcare fraud in America. The numbers are staggering. $3.5 billion in fraud just in LA County alone. $3.5 billion through hospice and home healthcare schemes. That's just the beginning. Los Angeles County has 1,923 hospice agencies. That's more than the total hospice agencies of more than half the country. In fact, of 36 states combined. It's 30 times larger than Florida, 30 times more than New York. And LA actually has less seniors than either Florida or New York. We're talking hundreds of thousands of fewer seniors. Obviously, these nearly 2,000 hospice agencies aren't there to meet a need. It turns out they're there for something far more nefarious. Get this. 18% of all home healthcare billing in the entire country comes from Los Angeles County alone. One county is responsible for 18% of the nation's home healthcare billing, even though they have hundreds of thousands fewer senior citizens than Florida or New York. Dr. Oz went to Van Nuys, a neighborhood in the San Fernando Valley, and what he found was jaw-dropping. In a 4-block radius, there are 42 hospices. In just 4 blocks, 42 hospices. But if you can believe it, gets worse. State auditors found 210 hospice agencies within a single square mile of each other. And in one commercial building, a building with no signage indicating any hospice services at all, 112 hospices were registered in that single building. Fox News went to those addresses. They pulled a Nick Shirley. They didn't see a single person. Speaking of Nick Shirley, who took down Governor Walz by exposing their rampant fraud in Minneapolis, he's now in California, and he's already discovering a literal gold mine.
It's Nick Shirley, our state, guys. Look.
Says there's 14 children enrolled here.
You don't care. This is my daycare. You don't care. It's not enough, Minnesota. You come here. It's not enough.
I cannot wait to see that report. At other locations, Fox News found supposed hospices that were operating, if you can believe it, inside strip malls. We're talking next to burrito stands, nail salons, dance studios, tax preparers, auto parts stores, even a wrecking yard. It seems like anywhere and everywhere you could possibly set up a fake hospice, you do it and you get the government will send you money. And here's the kicker. One doctor, if you could believe this, one single doctor reportedly billed the government $120 million in a single year, claiming to oversee 1,900 patients. One doctor, 120 mil, taxpayer money. Gang, this isn't incompetence. This is organized crime. But it gets even worse. Just like in Somaliland, Minneapolis, the perpetrators appear consistently to be of a particular ethnicity in California as well. In this case, Armenians, particularly Armenian gangs. And this is not the first time. A decade ago, federal prosecutors charged 73 members and associates of the Mirzoyan Turjanian crime ring with stealing $100 million from Medicare using phantom clinics to bill for thousands of unnecessary treatments. They were convicted of racketeering, healthcare fraud, and money laundering. And since then, many other hospice owners have been prosecuted in California. Just last year, 5 foreign nationals were charged with a $16 million hospice fraud scheme using sham companies to submit false claims for services that were either never provided or medically unnecessary. And the perpetrators ended up fleeing to Russia. They literally escaped to their own home countries when investigators came after them. But again, it's the same narrative, whether you're looking at LA or Minneapolis. Migrants come to our country, and instead of showing appreciation, they pillage and steal. It's literally a foreign-born fraud that's being perpetrated in American sanctuary cities. I mean, you've seen the chaos. Minneapolis is an insurrection zone. Left-wing terrorists have moved from riots to armed interference against our federal agents. And while President Trump fights for law and order, these civil warmongers are using an economic blackout now to wage war on your life savings. They want to seize power to make patriots pay in every way they can, especially through your hard-won wealth. Don't wait for the siege to hit your home. Launch your family finance defense today with Block Trust IRA. Their Animus AI technology defends your wealth 24/7 against bank holidays and radical sabotage. I'm a client with them, and I absolutely love them, and I know you will too. Head to TurleyTalksCrypto.com right now to secure your future and get a free $2,500 war chest funding bonus. Act now to defend your family against what's coming today. Gavin Newsom is panicking so much over these latest fraud revelations, he's suing Dr. Oz. You cannot make this stuff up. He filed a civil rights complaint against him, accusing Dr. Oz of making baseless and, of course, racially charged allegations, given that these guys are Armenian. I mean, Newsom's going full Tim Walz. He's picking up the Tim Walz playbook. Remember, Walz first tried to hide all the fraud that was getting exposed by claiming that the investigations were motivated by white supremacy. Do you remember that? This is white supremacy. I know white supremacy when I say that. Our Somali community will not be intimidated. Walz played the race card so early that as more and more evidence of fraud got uncovered, as the billions and billions started to rack up, he had nothing left. He already used his race card. He had nothing left. So he had to drop out of the gubernatorial race. And then just days ago, he said he's never running for public office again. Grease Monkey Gavin is making the same mistake here. He's pulled out the race card immediately, not realizing that that card is meaningless today. That card only worked in the 90s, the 80s, the 90s, the aughts, when progressive liberal sentiments reigned supreme over our national discourse. And of course, they still reign supreme at CNN and MSNBC, but that's why nobody watches them anymore. For the vast majority of the country, we are no longer progressive, we're populist. Progressivism has been replaced by populism, particularly nationalist populism. And the people expect their tax dollars to be protected and not exploited or stolen. And they don't give a flip who's doing it. Don't you even remotely try to hide behind the race card. They want these thieves accountable. You don't get to hide behind the race card anymore. Those days are over. I think about it's no more than USAID officials got to hide behind hungry children when Doge was destroying them, right? People recognize a human shield when they see one today. Now, again, like Walz, Newsom's office is claiming that they've been cracking down on this fraud. In fact, Gavin Newsom's trying to get ahead of this. He's saying that he's known about this fraud for like years. I think I even caught him saying something like, yeah, when I first ran for governor, I ran on getting rid of this fraud. I was going to conquer this fraud. But here's the problem. How many hospice providers are in LA County right now as we speak? 30 times as many as in Florida, New York, right? 1,923 hospice providers in LA County alone. Gavin Newsom hasn't done jack shit. He hasn't touched the problem. And the problem is, in fact, is even worse since he assumed office. Meanwhile, Dr. Oz, obviously not intimidated by Gavin Newsom's antics, he's recognizing that unlike Grease Monkey Gavin, he's recognizing he has all the cards. He sent Newsom word that Newsom has to come up with a comprehensive action plan within 30 days that is going to be approved by the federal government. Dr. Oz wants to know how California is going to establish fraud recovery thresholds, how fraud cases are referred, and why oversight has been so lax. Otherwise, the federal government is going to start getting involved very deeply, just as it did in Minnesota. Because in reality, it's not just California taxpayers who are paying for this. Most of the money, as I understand it, comes from federal funds, from states like New Mexico, where people earn far less than Californians but are paying extra taxes to fund the fraud in LA. We're now discovering, at least in part, why Medicare spending is growing at twice the rate of the country's GDP. If billions keep getting siphoned off by criminals, the entire system is going to collapse. Moreover, and needless to say, it's not just about money. I mean, real patients are being harmed here. Legitimate hospice providers are shutting down because there's not enough funding left after LA sucks up 18% of the national billing. And seniors who actually need care, they can't get it because fraudulent hospices end up owning their Medicare. That's one of the things you have to do when you enter in a hospice. When you sign up for hospice, you give up your regular Medicare. You forfeit access to all the care you would normally get, and in exchange, the hospice company is supposed to take that money and make you comfortable at the end of your life. But if you're not actually dying, which is all part of this fraud, right? Court records are showing that many of these people who signed up for hospice in LA don't end up dying. So they're screwed. They're trapped. They've lost their Medicare. So this is huge. I mean, the fact that the Democrats are now seeing their own pet welfare projects being gorged on by massive fraud that they allowed to happen is destroying the very rationale for the Democrat Party, which has traditionally billed itself as the compassionate party, the do-gooders, the bleeding heart liberals, the party that helps take care of people in need. Well, now those very people are being swindled by fraudsters, enabled and even protected by these shameless Democrat politicians. So we'll be keeping a very close eye on how things develop here. But if what happened in Minnesota is any indicator of what's going to happen in California, we're about to see the next Democrat governor's colossal collapse. Hey there, Turley Talks family. Dr. Steve here. I'm coming to Dover, Delaware on Saturday, February 21st for the 2026 Lincoln Day dinner, and I want to see you there. Bring your books, bring your family, bring your friends. We'll have cocktails at 6 p.m. My keynote is at 7 p.m., and I have a dedicated spot for book signing. Tickets are $100, but they're pre-sale only. No tickets at the door. Scan the QR code to register. Let's celebrate this movement together.